Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, and today I'm doing a 24-hour reading vlog. So basically I am spending the 24 hours leading up to the whole Christmas celebrations reading. Now I am going to be cheating a bit, I will tell you already, because basically tomorrow, so on Christmas Eve, I need to be at my friend's place at 6, I need to pick up some stuff before, so I need to leave around 5. So that would mean that I would start my reading vlog today at 5 on the 23rd. However, I'm starting an hour and a half early, only an hour and a half early, so it's not too big of a deal, because tonight I actually have something planned. So tonight I'm going to a lights festival in the Zoo of Antwerp, and that will probably take at least 3 hours or something like that, and then I will also be sleeping, so I'll be losing quite a bit of time for my reading vlog. And that's why I'm starting just a little bit earlier. I would have liked actually to start even earlier, but I still had to do some Christmas shopping. So this is what it is. I'm starting now at 3:30. I have an hour and a half to get some reading done now, and then I have to go to the station. I will, while going to the station, be listening to my audiobook, so I have a little bit of reading time there, but I'm meeting my sister on the train, so I won't have too much time to read while doing that. So all in all, I'm not going to get too much productivity in that period of time, but so I'm going to be starting now, and hopefully I'll be getting some way done. I had hoped to actually be further along in the books that I'm currently reading, so that I could actually finish one or two of them. Not sure whether that's going to be possible now or not, but I'll definitely show you the 3 books that I'm currently in the middle of. So at the moment I'm reading 3 books. The first one is actually an invader, which has invaded my TBR. So at the beginning of this month I have a way too ambitious TBR. I had to kind of work around with it, try to reshape it, and then I dropped one book, and then I was like, okay, it's still super ambitious, but I might be able to do it. But then of course I snuck in another book, which is, in a sense, I'm beating myself up for it. On the other hand, I'm also happy that I did it. It's a sequel to a book that I did have to read in December, and so I didn't want to stop myself from reading the sequel immediately, because it's a good thing that I was so invested in that I immediately wanted to pick up the second one. So I've basically given myself permission to change out another book on my TBR with this one, granted that next year I will be reading that other book. The book that I'm talking about is The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. This is the second book in the Remnant Chronicles. So I read the first book already this month as well, and so I had tried to stop myself from reading it, but then, as I said before, I'm actually very happy that I got so invested. So I'm continuing with it. I'm currently around the midway point, just under the midway point. As I said, this is my audiobook, so normally that would mean that on my commute I do it, but I am on holiday at the moment. But I have found myself, like, when I'm on the bicycle going to friends or places like that, when I'm going to my parents' place, then I'm putting this one up when I have to go to physical therapy. And so I'm hoping to be able to get some way done in this. As I said, I will also be listening to it while I'm going to the station later on, so I'll get like 40 minutes or something of this audiobook done today. This book is normally not going to be out, not going to be finished during this 24-hour reading vlog, except if I were to really have a go at this and listen to it full stop. But at this moment that's not really my plan. I'm kind of taking my time with it, but I'm really enjoying it. So the Remnant Chronicles, in the Remnant Chronicles we basically follow 3 characters at this point at least, and that is our main character Leah. She is a princess who, at the beginning of the first book, The Kiss of Deception, she was kind of going to be sold off basically to a prince from a sort of like rival kingdom, and so she doesn't approve. She didn't want to just be sold off that way, and so she decided to run off and to kind of make her life her own. She is followed there by 2 people, both the prince who she had left at the altar, and then also by an assassin sent to kill her. You don't know who is who at the beginning, and that's part of the fun, of course. And then in the second book, things naturally have developed in certain directions, and I cannot say too much about them. But I'm very much interested, so I'm really loving it. I'm loving the relationship. I'm actually also loving the sort of love triangle. It's a difficult thing to do, a love triangle, and I feel like a lot of times it's it's very hit or miss, and in this case it was a hit because I really do think that the love triangle works pretty well in this one, and so I'm looking forward to continuing that one. Next up is a book in which I'm currently halfway done. I mainly read a lot of this on the plane to Spain and back, and that is The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. So I am currently about halfway point of this book. When I last talked to you guys about it, it was while I was introducing my TBR, I assume, and then I really didn't have too much of an idea about this book. So basically we are following two main characters, and we are following Howard and Peter. And now Howard and Peter met each other at architecture school, but they have very different paths in life. So Peter was like the top student at his school. He graduated with honors, was given like a scholarship to go to Paris, was granted the opportunity to go and work at a big architecture firm, which he then also took, and so he's going places. Howard, on the other hand, has just been expelled from school at the beginning of this book, when he's about to enter into his senior year, because he has two radical ideas. And so basically this book really follows these different ways of approaching the work, approaching life. You know, Peter's very much he's very much following the trends of how things are done, how things have always been done, very much compromising towards like what people expect of him and what people want of him, very much offering people what they expect, what they want. Howard, however, he doesn't understand compromise at all. He doesn't feel good with it, he doesn't accept compromise. He has a vision, he has a passion for what he's doing, and the way that he sees a building needs to be is the way that he will make it. And if you do not agree, then he's just more likely to step away than he's actually likely to actually try and make a compromise. So we see these very different career paths and these very different ways to stand up to approach life. I am really loving it so far. I don't know, there are very mixed reviews about this book. You know, it seems to be you either love it or you hate it. I won't say in which one I fall yet, because I did love it at the beginning. I'm starting to get my doubts, and so we'll see how it develops from here. But I am really loving the writing style in any case, and I feel like it's very fluent. You fly through it basically, and I was actually expecting for it to be a little bit more on the dry side, because it's also saying that it's like it talks about objectivism, which is a sort of like philosophy that she explores throughout this book, and which is sort of like the way in which Howard Rourke stands towards life. And that made me think that it was going to be dry, but it really isn't. Things that I don't really like about the book is that there's a certain romance developing in here that I find to be kind of toxic. At times it's developing towards something more wholesome at this point in the book, and so I hope that it will actually go there, though probably not. But so there was this very toxic relationship in which you have these two characters who are very much drawn to each other, were very much of the same strain, but they're kind of like working against each other and then repaying each other through the act of sexual pleasure. So I mean, I don't know, that really that's really not something that I really appreciated in this book, but it is developing a little bit of a different way at this point, and so I hope that I will enjoy the further developments. What I think is a very big strength of this is actually that your main character is actually pretty unlikable. You know, I would still consider Howard to be the main character. He's very much more of the focus than Peter is. But he's very unlikable, you know. He's very passionate and he's very uncompromising, but he also seems to be, he comes across as if he doesn't care, you know. He doesn't care that people don't like him. He doesn't care that the way he stands in life will cost him chances, will make his life more difficult. And at times that can be very off-putting. It's very off-putting to the other characters in the book, but you yourself also feel this from time to time. You also start to feel like, oh, why can't he just do this or that? Why can't he just compromise for once, and then he would get this assignment and then his career would start rolling. And so you start to get the same sense of frustration that other people have towards the fact that Howard is not willing to compromise. And that is a real that's a real achievement for you, for the author to be able to convey that to the reader as well. And at the same time, even though you're getting annoyed with him, that you're getting frustrated, you're also still very much rooting for him, or at least I'm still. You also still want him to achieve whatever it is that he wants to achieve. You want, when he's going for certain commissions, you want him to be able to achieve those commissions. You kind of like getting super annoyed at the people who are working against him, because you're like, no, I mean, he deserves a break. He deserves to finally get a commission. You know, there's so many commissions for everybody else who's compromising. Just let him have something. And so that, I think, is a great achievement for you to be, for an author to be able to write a main character that both frustrates you and that makes you really root for them throughout. But so I'm going to stop talking about this one. I'll probably talk a little bit more about it when I get into reading it again. I probably already talked about it too long, so maybe I'll cut this clip. But in any case, this is also still on my list. I'm about the halfway mark. I'm at 368 of the 720 pages. I was hoping to have this book be the main focus of my reading vlog at this point, but I think I'm going to be focusing more on another one. And that is the book that I was supposed to be reading a lot more of this weekend, but The Witcher was launched on Netflix and I basically did a sort of like binge of it. But the book that I'm talking about is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. So this is the Spanish edition, so it's an edition that you probably haven't seen too much on BookTube at this point. But this is my favorite Harry Potter. I'm doing a reread for Harry Potter. I read books 1, 2 and 3 last year, book 4 and 5 this year, and then for 2020 I will be finishing up with book 6 and 7. So book 5 is the longest book and it's beginning to show, you know. I feel like I have gotten a very big chunk of it done this month. I think at the beginning of this month I really wasn't that far into it yet, and so I'm now like less than 200 pages away from the ending. However, like I am starting to notice like a chapter in Harry Potter in this book is quite long in my opinion. So I had hoped to be like 5 chapters further in than I am currently, so I still need to finish 8 chapters. I hope to be able to do like 3, maybe 4 today, but that would be a lot of reading. And that means also like pushing through. I like to like read one chapter and then take a break, read another, and so I guess that this would mean that I have to like read along a lot at a bit. And in order to make this like to reach these 4 chapters today and then 4 chapters tomorrow, I would have to like push through and keep reading. But so yeah, without further ado, I'm going to start reading. I'll be checking in with you guys later. I think I'm gonna put on some like nice Christmas music in the background while I'm reading. Normally I actually listen to like rain sounds in the background. I have like YouTube videos of like gentle rain sounds in the forest or things like that on in the background. But today I think I'm gonna put on some Christmas music to get into the Christmas atmosphere. And so I've got about an hour and a quarter left of reading time before I have to get ready. So yeah, wish me luck. See you guys. So it's now around 11 AM on Tuesday the 24th of December, so we are rounding off towards the Christmas Eve, towards the Christmas celebrations. I have about 6 hours left until I need to leave for my Christmas Eve party, so I'm still planning on getting as much reading done as possible in the meantime. I sadly didn't get as much reading done yesterday as I would have liked to, but I had a wonderful time at the Lives Festival, so I've probably included a little bit of footage from there. I didn't film too much because my battery on my camera was getting a bit low at a certain point. But maybe I'll insert some stills or something like that. But it was really nice. I really had a great time and my niece really loved it. So it was actually a birthday gift to her. So I'm happy that she was very happy with it. And I guess this is going to become like a yearly tradition at this point because she particularly really loves going there. But so yeah. I finished, so my goal had been to finish 3 to 4 chapters of Harry Potter yesterday. I did still manage to do that. I finished 3 chapters. I would have loved to be able to go for 4, but that didn't happen. But I have already finished 2 other chapters this morning. So out of the 8 that remained, I have finished 5, so I have 3 remaining chapters. But I think I'm going to take a break from Harry Potter at the moment and focus a little bit on a different book, just to kind of mix my reading experience today. You know, I'm not really I'm not really like a marathon reader or anything like that, so that's always what becomes clear from these sort of like 24-hour readathons, is that I get quite tired from reading too much. Of course, when I'm first reading certain books, it's very different. For example, when I first read Harry Potter, of course I did a whole like marathon read for it, and I finished it in one go. However, when I'm rereading it, I definitely cannot do so. But so I will be continuing with another book just to kind of cleanse my palate again. And I will be going for the Heart of Betrayal. So at the beginning I said that this wasn't going to be my focus, but I've kind of decided that I want to take up this one instead of the Fountainhead, just because I always think it's nice when you're doing a 24-hour readathon to kind of feel like you're flying through pages, that you've got a lot of productivity done, because that's part of the reason why you dedicate a full 24-hour period to reading, is because you want to get some progress done. And I know that I'm going to be flying through this one because I finished the first one in the series in one go. So I decided for a different approach with this one so far. So I've had it on audiobook, and every single time I've been on the commute or anything like that, I've been listening to it. And that's how I've already gotten to like the 250 page mark in the totality of like 470 or something like that, and I'm very happy with that. But I think that today I want to be focusing a little bit on this book as well, so I'll hopefully be able to get some like 50 pages or something more of this done today, just by physically reading it, which is also a little bit faster than audiobook listening for me, because most people on BookTube, they like to listen to their audiobooks at like 2 times speeds, but I really cannot deal with the listening to it at that speed, because I find it very annoying when the voice becomes like super rushed, and it kind of makes me feel anxious. And so I can only listen to it at like 1.25 speed, which is like the only speed that I feel that the voice is still normal. And that actually means that listening to it on audiobook goes a bit slower to me than it does while reading physically. But that's not a big deal. Usually I don't really mind that. But so I think that I'm going to be picking it up physically now for a bit, and just reading until like lunchtime, I guess. So reading in this for an hour, and then picking up Harry Potter again, and hopefully finishing that one, and hopefully still having some time left to pick this one up again. In any case, I still have it on audiobook as well, and when I'm leaving for my Christmas party, I will also still be listening to part of this on audiobook. So I guess the final clip of this video will be shot on Christmas Day. It'll be like a conclusion to my reading vlog, being like, okay, how much did I get done in everything, because I won't know until I've arrived at my friend's place, actually until I'm back home, how far I've gotten into this book. But so yeah, that's kind of my plan for the reading vlog at this point, and I'll get right to it. I'll put some Christmas music on in the background again, and maybe it will shoot also like a little clip of me reading, but it's really it's really not that interesting, but at least you have a nice cat to look at while you're doing so. So it is 1 o'clock at this point, so it's almost time for this readathon to end. I have 4 hours left in this 24-hour readathon. So far quite happy. So I've finished 5 chapters of Harry Potter, as I said in my last update for you guys, and I finished 55 pages in the Heart of Betrayal. So what I'm going to be doing now in these 4 remaining hours is hopefully finishing Harry Potter. I mean, hopefully, I'm pretty damn sure I'm going to be finishing it. But what I hope is that I'll still have some time left after that to dive back into Heart of Betrayal as well. And then I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it because I'm like 2/3 of the way in now. I think I still need about 150 pages or something to be able to finish it. So I don't think that that is going to be possible to actually finish it, but I do hope to get a big chunk of the way in, and then hopefully if I do like the counting of all the pages I will get, I will have done quite a good job at it, because I'm quite a slow reader, so 20 pages an hour is more or less my rate, depending on the book of course. With Heart of Betrayal, for example, it was 55 pages in 1 hour, but for Harry Potter, for example, it's more or less like 25 pages an hour, so we'll see. I still have about 70 pages to go. No, I have like 60 pages to go in Harry Potter. So in principle that would mean like a little over 2 hours. I hope to be done with it a little bit faster. But I'm entering into the part of the book that always makes me cry. So Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix is the first book that ever made me cry. I still cry every single time when I get to that certain scene. So weirdly, I'm looking forward to it. This is also the first time that I'm going to be rereading this book in its entirety, I think. Maybe I've done it like when it was just out. Maybe I reread it again at that point, but it's the first time, at least in a very long time, since I've reread it in its entirety. And so I'm expecting this one to pack a bit of a punch, because I always feel like there are certain scenes that you're like anticipating and that I often reread as well, but I just reread them on their own. But then when you reread these scenes in the entirety of a full reread of a book, they always pack a bigger punch. So I'm really looking forward to getting down to this. So I'm entering the sort of like, well, I'm already in the action-packed part of this book, and so I also feel like I continued a little bit faster than my usual pace because of that, because we're more into the action sequences now. So we're winding down on the action, and I guess the final chapter is actually going to be the one that's going to go back. Pacing will go down again, but I'm not foreseeing any problems with finishing Harry Potter in this 24-hour readathon. So that will already make me happy, because it's been, in my opinion, it's been a while since I finished a book in this month. I think I finished like 2 pretty early on in the month, and then I just had these 2 big books to go through. So Harry Potter is almost 900 pages, and then The Fountainhead is 720 pages, which I'm now halfway through. So these were 2 big chunky books to get through, and so I felt like I wasn't getting any progress in terms of finishing a book for a very long time. So I'll be happy to at least finish this one today, maybe even Heart of Betrayal, but if I don't finish it today, most likely I will still finish it maybe tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening. So I'll be getting some progress in that sense as well. But so I've taken a little bit of a break since last time we saw each other, because I finished Harry Potter. So I actually finished it quite soon. I mean, I finished the final 80 pages or something in a little over an hour, so it was a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. And then I took like some 40 minutes off or something. So I have 1 hour left at this point, and I hope to make the best of it. So concerning my reread for Harry Potter, so I can definitely safely state that Order of the Phoenix is still gonna be my favorite Harry Potter after this. Wait, don't destroy my furniture. So Order of the Phoenix will remain my favorite Harry Potter. It's been a very long time since I had like fully reread it, but I really loved it again upon reread. So whenever somebody asks me like why this is my favorite Harry Potter, I usually just say like it's the Harry Potter that made me cry. It's the only one that made me cry. It's the first book that ever made me cry. But there's so much more to this book, and now that I've reread it, I'm also confident again in stating the other reasons for it. So what I really love about Order of the Phoenix is the way Harry is throughout. So I know Harry's super annoying throughout this book, but I also think it's very well done. So throughout this book, Harry's mind is basically constantly infiltrating Voldemort's mind, which means that he's in a very bad place, and he's more susceptible to all of this because he starts out from a bad place throughout this book. So he starts out feeling abandoned, feeling like nobody's telling him what's going on, nobody is including him in their plans, even though he's the one who saw Voldemort's return, even though he was a central part of all of those events, but now he's suddenly left alone and nobody seems to be bothering to let him know what's going on or anything like that. So he's in a very bad state of mind, and at the same time he's tapping into he's subconsciously tapping into Voldemort's thoughts, into his feelings, and so naturally what results is a very dark and depressed state of mind. And so this comes back throughout the book, so it's very much present at the beginning in a very strong way. So at the beginning of the book we very much have cranky Harry, who is angry at everybody, who snaps at the least bit of information or at the least bit of resistance that he gets from his friends. And so he is very much like an angry teenager, which is also, of course, something that is just natural. He is a teenager, he is going through all of these hormone changes, and so it's natural for him to be like that, but it's also heightened because of what's going on in the background. So I really love this whole development throughout of Harry and his feelings, and how he's constantly tapping into Voldemort's into the mind of Voldemort, and how you see how that affects the way he reacts towards what other people tell him, but also the way that he reacts towards Dumbledore, for example. Another very good element about this book that I really love is the introduction of the character of Dolores Umbridge. Now I, like everybody else, hates Dolores Umbridge, but I think it's a majestic character. It's really extremely well written character. It's a type of character that you recognize. Everybody recognizes a Dolores Umbridge. You haven't necessarily had a teacher who definitely recognize this too much about him. We learn a little bit about him in the 6th book, we learn a little bit of his background, but no way do we get like a sort of growth in the depth of his character. Versus Dolores Umbridge, even though we don't know too much about her, too much about how she got to be the person that she is, she very much has a lot more depth to her character, just because she's that type of character who believes she's doing right, but is doing so much wrong at the same time. And she's actually that kind of character who spirals out of control and becomes evil in that way, because throughout the book you see that she's constantly reevaluating where the barrier lies. For example, there are certain actions that she doesn't take in the beginning that she does take at the end, and that she is then telling herself that it's okay to do so because this or that, you know. It's somewhere at the very end, it's like, okay, this is clearly now a threat towards the Ministry of Magic, so any means are now acceptable, even though this is something that I would normally never do, but because it is a possible threat to the Ministry of Magic, I am entitled to do it. So she is somebody who thinks she's doing right, but is actually doing a lot of cruel and evil stuff as a result. And I think that that is way more powerful than a character who is actually evil, who knows that what they're doing is wrong, but who doesn't care, and who rejoices in the fact that they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing. I think it is much more powerful in a way to look at a character who thinks that what they are doing is for the best, and who thinks that they are showing people the correct way to do it, or showing people like how to act, teaching them that the way that they are acting is wrong, and expecting them to change their mind based on the cruel behavior that she is exhibiting towards them. So Dolores Umbridge, even though she's very annoying and she's evil throughout, and you hate her throughout, she's such a wonderful, interesting character that this is definitely also part of what I love about this book. There are millions of other things that I love about this book, and I'm not going to go into them because this is going to be too long. But so in any case, Order of the Phoenix will remain my favorite book. I absolutely loved it. I think out of all the books, at least for me, it has like the best flow of the plot, and it culminates so beautifully in the final sequence. I mean, there are others that obviously do it as well. I think the first one is actually also quite good in the sort of like balance of the plots, but I kind of missed that a lot in the fourth one, so I'm very happy to be returning to this type of plot flow in the fifth one. But so, I'm done with Harry Potter. I have about an hour left. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be tackling The Heart of Betrayal, just because I'm going to be able to get more of this done than I would be able to get done of The Fountainhead at this point. I think in The Fountainhead I would probably be able to get some 20 pages in or something like that, and in Heart of Betrayal I might get some 15, so that's basically just it. I just want some good maths, so just to make me feel like positive about my reading stats at this point, because I will have like almost like yeah, I'll have more than a day of not reading anything at this point, because of the Christmas Eve party and then Christmas Day party, and then actually on the 26th I'm going to a museum with my parents and my sister, so 26 is probably also not going to be a very big reading day, so I like to get some pages in now to get some progress going, and so it was. And so that's why I'm choosing Heart of Betrayal, and in all honesty I just also really want to continue in this now, because after the previous 55 pages that I read earlier today, about 2/3 of the way, as the things are really starting to get very, very interesting. You know, they were interesting from the get-go, but you know, you're starting to see where this plot is going to be developing towards, and so I'm really interested in seeing it all unfold. So this is what I'll be doing for the next hour. I don't know whether I'm going to give an update before I go to the Christmas Eve party. It'll probably depend on like what time it is, because I do also need to change. So see you guys later for my final update on what I've been reading in these 24 hours leading up to Christmas. So I look like a pale ghost, but I'm going to be rounding off the 24-hour reading vlog at this point. So Merry Christmas everybody. It is the evening of Christmas Day. I've had my fill of wonderful food, and I had a lot of lovely gifts, including a lot of books, which I will be doing a haul video about very soon. Just want to quickly go over what I've read in the 24-hour period leading up to Christmas. So I'm counting my reading starting on the 23rd at around 3 p.m. until the 24th around 5 p.m. But I will actually be adding just a little bit to that, just because I finished the second book on the morning of Christmas itself, and that actually just counts for an extra hour of reading apart from the period that I had set aside for my 24-hour reading vlog. And since I didn't read 24 full hours, I'm still counting it. It's bending the rules a bit, but hey, it are my rules. But so in any case, the first book that I read, and I already talked about for a big part, so I won't go into it too much, is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Love this reread for what is my favorite book in the Harry Potter series, and it will remain that way after this reread. It was actually the first time in a long time that I have done a full reread for this book, and so I really enjoyed diving into the book again and finding some stuff that like I didn't remember were some of the reasons why this is one of my favorite books. So basically I started out on page 716 before the start of my reading vlog, and the book is 893 pages, so I read about 100 and let's say 75 or something like that. So 175 pages in my first book, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Then I also technically decided to read The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. I decided to give this one priority over the other book that I was reading, which I shortly introduced in the beginning of this reading vlog, even though in the end I didn't end up reading anything for it, so maybe I'll cut that from my video, don't know yet. But so basically, The Heart of Betrayal is the sequel to The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This is the second book in the Relevant Chronicles. I really like this sequel, and I've actually already started on the third book, the concluding novel to this series. Okay, so when I started in on the 24-hour reading vlog, I was at page 256. So when I got to the end of the official reading vlog period, I was about at the 400 page mark, so I got 140 pages, something like that in. But if I add up to Christmas morning when I finished this book, the total for this book is 213 pages. So I'm counting that, so in total I have read some 400 pages over this 24-hour period, which I'm happy with. As I said before in one of these clips, I'm not really a fast reader, so I'm very happy to have gotten there. I'm also very happy to have 2 further books down on my December TBR. It has shifted a bit, and I do plan to try and get the third book in the series, The Beauty of Darkness, in there as well. However, I've just seen that this is an over 600, almost 700 page book, so we'll have to see whether I manage to do this. So first priority for now is finishing The Fountainhead, but yeah. I cannot make myself stop reading this one, and I definitely won't make myself. But so I'm happy with the way that this reading vlog went. Definitely let me know down below what you've been reading over the Christmas period. I think Christmas is a wonderful period to be reading, and I always love to read on the day of Christmas itself. I don't know what makes it extra cozy. I guess it's also like I put like Christmas music on in the background, and that always gets me really into the mood for Christmas. And so now what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day is basically just make myself a hot chocolate and continue reading. But so yeah, wishing you all happy holidays, and hope you have wonderful times with your friends and family, and with these wonderful stories that we all fall in love with. So yeah, see you guys. Bye.